Hi there guys, welcome to another episode. We've got the engine sorted out. It's really quiet. It's really nice to drive this car nowadays. But it is hot. I mean, it's like 20 odd degrees outside and there's no fan in the car. The internal fan doesn't work. It burned out a while ago while I was messing around with the electrics in the engine bay. And I had a problem with the headlights and it was all going backwards through a relay and stuff like that. So I need to get that sorted out. Mrs. the mechanic is a bit worried about how hot it's going to be in the car because it's not got any AC, obviously, because it's an old car. So we need to sort that out, and we're going to sort that out with this little tiny box. So inside this little tiny box is a new motor for the fan. Now I've been told that this should fit my car, and it looks like that. It's a tiny little thing. This does actually fit, from what I can gather, from a Mercedes. I'll put a link down below and hopefully this fits. If it does fit, then it's a pretty cheap repair because you can't get hold of original Ford heater motors. So if this one fits from a Mercedes, then this is going to save me a lot of effort trying to find a second-hand fan motor that's probably just as old and knackered as the original one that's in there. So hopefully this one fits and it'll be a straight swap and I'll have a heater fan on very shortly. So to change that motor, that does mean one thing. We have to take the dashboard out. And once we've got the dashboard out, we have to take the heater box out, which is behind it. Luckily enough on these cars, it's not a massive job. It's only a few screws, the instrument panel and the center console. So it's not a massive job, luckily enough. It's a job that I didn't really want to do. I want to get this car on the road and I want to get miles on it, miles and miles driving on it. But as it's not been a big job, I think I can pull this out, put it all back together again in a relatively short time and it won't affect me too much. So I'm going to start by getting this dashboard back out of this car for about the 8th time. While I'm in there, I've got a couple of jobs to do as well, but I'll go through them once we've got this dashboard out. So those of you that have never taken a dashboard out of a Mark 1 Fiesta, it's not that difficult. There's one screw there. There's one screw behind that. There's one screw behind there. The center console comes out, which is held in by 4 screws, I think. The column here is 1 screw on the top, and I think it's 2 underneath there. And if you've got a center console like I have, then it's got 2 screws at the back. They need undoing, and you can twist this round to give enough room to get the dashboard out, and then it's just the cables and wires and stuff to the heater box. So this whole panel here then should lift out and be able to put outside the car, and I can work on the other bits that I want to do as well as the heater box. So I'm going to get rid of these screws now. Now if you do it, be careful of that screw, because when I take the heater box apart now, there is a screw in there that I need to fish back out again. So be careful of that, because it does normally drop straight down into the heater box and you can't find it and it rattles around. Right, let's get this dashboard out. So as you can see, not a huge job to pull the dashboard out itself. Now the heater box itself, that is 2 bolts. There's one there and there's one on that side there as well. So there's 2 nuts and that brings the whole heater box down. Now I'm hoping that when I pull the heater box down, you need to split this in half. So I'm hoping that I can split this in half, change the fan and put it back again without having to disconnect the heater pipes. Now I know it's not a massive job to just disconnect the 2 pipes that hold the for the water. I just have to block them off and undo the 2 Jubilee clips and that's it. But if I can avoid it, I will do, because it's a bit more work, and you know, more work is still more work. So I'll try and avoid it if I can. Now while I'm under here, I still want to tidy cables up. It feels like I'm forever tidying cables up in this car, but I'm going to do that. There's a few cables hanging down here that don't do anything anymore, so I'm going to try and get rid of them, hide them out of the way. I've also got this box here, which is the one for the central locking and the remote boot and things like that. Now it did have a problem with it, or it still has a problem with it, and that's this cable here. Now that cable there is for the left-hand indicator, so when you put the alarm on and put the alarm off, then it sends a signal to this, and that flashes the left indicator, and the one next to it is the right-hand indicator. And as you can see, I've already spliced it together because this falls off of its contact. It's a really bad contact, and it's done it again, to be quite honest. It's fallen off again. So I'm going to try and solder something in there and bring a cable out of there that works better than what that does, because at the moment it's terrible, because it keeps falling off, and when you go to open the boot, for example, only the lights on the right hand side flash, not the left hand side. So I want to get something done about that as well while I've got all this lot of parts. Other than that, I think it's a bit of a tidy up job really. There's still cables hanging down here, there and everywhere. I've not really been able to get in there with any sort of cable ties, so I'm going to do that now. But we're going to start off with the heater matrix. Well, I ended up taking it out. The hose clips that were on there stopped it from coming out the bulkhead, and I need to get to the back of here anyway to split it apart, so I ended up taking the whole thing out. It was only 2 hose clips. So right, the heater motor is up there, and first impressions are they look incredibly similar. You can even see that this one has got the red top on it, the same as that one. So first impressions, they look very, very similar. So I'm going to split this box apart now, which I think is here, these little clips here. So I probably need a screwdriver and those clips and just pry this box apart and just split it. I don't think there's any screws, but I'll let you know if there were. So I'll pull this apart and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so that's that split in half. You've got the heater packet there. You've got the heater matrix there, which is going to get cleaned because it's disgusting. The flaps here that send the heat in different positions, from inside or outside, and up to your feet or up to the windscreen or whatever they go. That's that one. And then there's just the cables for the fan, and it's the fan itself then. So again, looking at this fan, it looks really, really similar. So I'm going to start to pull this apart, and hopefully that'll fit. That worked. Well, for once, that was so much easier than what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a nightmare to get off, but I put a little bit of penetrating oil on it and then really just tapped it with a hammer, and it came off really, really, really easily. And the same with that one. I put it so that that end of the plastic was against the vise, and then literally I pushed that pin straight into it. So that worked really well. It's got this little plastic cage around it that fits. It'll only fit in one place, and that's where these support pieces are. It'll fit against them. So that's that put back on again. I need to get a little bit of super glue because that's broken in the postage. But other than that, I need to put that little cage back on again, and then I can put the heater box back together again. This was a job that I thought was going to take so much more time than what it did. And I've probably jinxed the hell out of it now. Oh dear.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Oh, look at my finger. Ow. Found it. Right, so it's all back together again now then. It's a bit fiddly to get these vent things in the right places. And I got the bolt out as well that was rattling around inside there. So that's gone. Make the car a little bit quieter now. So now we can start to put this back in again. But I'm going to sort the wiring out before I do that. So I've got some more cables hung up. I've took away a few cables that I don't need anymore. And generally, even if it doesn't look like it, tied it up in the wiring. Most of it now you won't see when the dashboard and the center console goes back in again. Still looks like a spaghetti junction, but it's better than what it was, at least. So now I can now put the heater box back in that hole there, and we can test the fan to make sure it works again. Right, so before I put the heater box in, I want to make sure that the fan works before I start doing anything. Otherwise I'll put it all together and something might be wrong and I'll have to pull everything back out again. So I wanted to work out the wire into it, which turned out to be a little bit more difficult than what I thought, but eventually I've worked it out. So you've got a connector here, and you've got a ignition feed on that cable, the black and red one there. That goes all the way to the motor, so it's always got, as soon as you turn the ignition on, the fan has a 12-volt feed, but it has no earth. Now the fan switch is earthed switched. The switch should sit here. Now I can't find my switch at the moment, so I just want to have a proof of concept to make sure that it works. So all I've done is put a yellow wire here into what comes out of the fan as an earth. So you've got power going in there, earth coming out here. So if we follow that cable back, it goes to this brown cable up here. That brown cable comes all the way down to the switch, and I've then put a yellow cable into it. Now as you can see, you've got two more cables here, this big fat white one, and you've got a brown and yellow one. Now the fan's got two speeds. You've got a low speed and a high speed. That's the low speed, that's the high speed. And basically what it does is these two are earths. So as soon as you put, well, you've got power, so you need to put an earth onto that wire. Now either you can put an earth from here, which is the low speed, and as you can see it's a big fat wire, so basically that's like a resistor wire, the same as the coil has got a resistor wire. So if I connect the earth going to the fan to this resistor wire here, we should get a fan working at half speed. If we then swap that over to that wire, and now that wire is basically just an earth, there's no resistance in that whatsoever, so you should get a full 12-volt full amp speed on it. So if we plug that into there, full speed on the fan, as you can hear. And that's how the fan switch works. All it does is switch between the two different earths into the engine, either a resistor earth or a non-resistor earth, giving you half speed or full speed. So now I know that all the wiring works, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and the fan definitely works. So now I can fit the heater matrix back into the hole. Right, so we're all back together again. Now I can't find the switch for it, so I've put it on the half speed, so as soon as you turn the ignition on, the fans go. But I'm not worried about that. I'd rather have the fans on low than on fast all the time, or have nothing at all. So now they're on low speed all the time, but at least now I know I've got a fan and I've got some cooling in here. So now that it's pretty warm out here, it's like 25 degrees today, so it's going to be nice to have some fresh air blowing around the car. So now we've got all that sorted out, I'm going to drive her home. So thanks for watching. I'll put my social media up on the screen, so don't forget to follow me there. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.